Hey everybody, I'm going to have to apologize right off the bat here. My audio of my new recording setup was absolutely terrible, so I'm going to be doing voiceover for this entire thing. Hopefully I can still make it make sense. So here I'm kind of showing the scrapers that I'm going to mount in these three tool handles. So I'm going to use a box scraper and a couple other scraper profiles. And I got some wood from Don Mitchell from the Arizona Woodturners. And what's interesting is the piece I'm holding looks kind of red and it almost looks like Paduke. And the other one looks brown and it looks like Jatoba. But surprise, surprise, they were the opposite. The one I'm holding right now, I'm pretty sure is Paduke. And it turns out really, really pretty. And both woods are super hard and dense and will be very durable and will last me forever. So I've got the adapter here that's from Carter & Son, and the length of the head part there is 4 inches from the tip. And then I'm going to add 12 inches of wood to each of the handles. And I'm going to end up with a 16-inch tool handle essentially. And I prefer that length because I've got some strength issues in my hands because of the arthritis. But yeah, it's going to work out. And I'll get 2 out of the big piece and 1 out of the smaller piece with a little scrap left over for a bottle stopper or something. I'm going to just mount this up in these new jaws I got from my Easy Chuck. These are 1 3/8 easy reach, but it has this nice sawtooth in there with shark type jaws or whatever. So here's where I noticed that the chips coming off are way more red than Jatoba normally looks. I was pretty shocked because I was not expecting that. It was a dull brown on the outside with pretty characteristic Jatoba grain, and now it ends up looking a lot more like Paduke. So we'll see. It's going to be super pretty, but definitely surprising. If you've seen Jatoba this red, let me know in the comments because I don't think it's Jatoba. Wow, that is crazy. That's gonna be a little nice handle. So I'm gonna model my handle after a tool handle from Carter & Son because I really like that shape. It's kind of got that skinny part in the middle and like a swallowtail in the end. I'm not really sure if that's what it's called, but I enjoy that shape, so I'm going to try and just duplicate that as close as I can in my meager spindle turning skills. And they include a instruction sheet with good dimensions, which I put in the upper right hand corner here. Excuse the creases. But basically you got to turn a tenon, you got to drill a hole, and you need to leave a shoulder for the tool to index off of. And all of those need to be pretty precise. And they do give tolerances for that. The tenon size can be a little bit small, but can't be any bigger than 1 1/4 inches. And the shoulder or the tenon length can't be any longer than 0.3 inches, but it can be just a hair shorter. And both of those undersized tolerances will be taken up by some epoxy. So you can see there's a mortise or a recess in the handle for that tenon on the wood part to index off of, and it's going to make the joint really strong with the epoxy. And I'm super excited to get these done. It's going to be a really pretty handle. So I couldn't really find any set of steps to follow in order of which thing to do when. So I was kind of guessing here, and the videos I found were kind of similar where we're all guessing. So I decided to drill the hole first, and before I did that, I just faced off the end, so I knew I was starting with a flat face for the tenon. So then once I had the hole drilled, I knew exactly the depth. That was all correct. And I started forming that tenon. And I spent quite a bit of time. And my calipers sometimes were vibrating open because they were bouncing on rough spots. And so I ended up doing a lot of guessing and checking to make sure I didn't mess that up. Because I didn't want to go too small and have it loose and lose some length and have to restart over. So that's what you see me doing here, back and forth, cutting with the parting tool, measuring, getting the calipers to go through, and then doing a test fit with the actual handle. I did that a bunch of times until it slipped over, and then I went ahead and turned the length of that tenon after I had the diameter correct, because then it was easy to just kind of match that. So from this point on, I just had the handle pressed on there and using the tailstock to keep it in as I continue to turn. And I think that was a mistake in the end. I should have epoxied it, which I show later here. And I changed my procedure for handles 2 and 3 to do that epoxy first and then finish the turning. Because it was just easier to clean the handle of the epoxy after that. I don't know if that was the right way to go, but I made it work. So here, sorry this camera angle is pretty bad, but I'm marking the thinnest point on the handle, and then I'm going to use my parting tool to turn down to that diameter first, and then blend everything from each end after that. So I figured that was one way to go. I don't know if you're a spindle turner, let me know, but it seems like spindle turners tend to do that. They mark the features and then turn to the features. So trying to get better at that, and that's what you see me doing here. So here you can see the progress I made on the middle portion of the handle, and I start working on the far end. And I'll do the same thing. I'll measure the fattest point on the existing handle that I'm trying to model, and then kind of slowly work my way towards that. So as you see me continue to work on this, you're probably screaming at the screen saying, "Why don't you use a skew, you stupid idiot?" Well, you're right. This would probably be a great place to use a skew, but I suck at it, and the only skew I have is kind of banged up, and I keep forgetting to fix it. And I hate stopping in the middle to work on a tool other than sharpening just to get it the way I want. So I'm comfortable with the bowl gouge and gouges in general, and even back when I learned how to turn pens 20 plus years ago, I use a little tiny bowl gouge, and it works just fine. May not be optimal, may not have the cleanest cuts, but yeah, it'll get the job done, and I need to work on my skew work at another time. The tool you will see me using is a bowl gouge in a spindle handle. I'm not sure if that's exactly what it is, but I got it from Ashley Harwood at a symposium, and it's a really nice tool, and it is perfect for doing this type of spindle work. So it is a tool that I use frequently, and it works very well. I know people don't really want to watch a lot of sanding, but I'm just going to quickly note here the little black rectangular opening on the edge of the bench there. That's my front dust collection port. So I have my hose there, and a 4-inch hose splits into two 2-inch hoses, and I have it going into that kind of plenum there. which I can adjust with that small piece of wood to put the suction where I want it. And depending on how the sanding is going, if dust is going on the back of the tool or towards the front, that front collection port can be really handy. And the reason I put it there is I noticed that dust was sometimes collecting there, and I thought, you know what, it'd be handy if I just sucked that away. So upcoming video, I'm going to have just a brief kind of show and tell of how I made that. So once all the turning was done, I finally got around to gluing the metal piece into the wood handle. And you saw me protect the handle with that blue tape. That was for the sanding, so I could get right up next to the edge. And that wasn't great, as I mentioned it before. On the next two, I taped the handles first, glued them, and then turned down, and that was much easier to get the epoxy and blend the handle into the metal piece. So that's my new procedure if I need to make more of these. And as I put the epoxy on, you'll see I'm basically getting it on all mating surfaces on both pieces as per the instructions. So the last thing I want is for the wood handle to come undone. It's a beefy piece of metal, so it should stay forever basically. But yeah, a little extra epoxy doesn't hurt. So I sanded it up to 400, even though it's just a handle, but I like it smooth. So then I decided to use the friction polish on there. Could have used anything, I guess, but since this ended up being a really pretty piece of wood, I thought I'd try and make it really shine. So pretty simple, just wipe it on and then get it up to speed and shine it up. So now that's done, I couldn't help myself but to put the whole tool together, and I'm super happy with how it came out. Carter & Sons, when they ship you a tool, it is like a piece of jewelry. I tell my wife this is like man jewelry right here. I get so excited when I get a piece of their kit. So turned out really, really nice, and I'm super happy with it. Can't wait to use it. And the other two I'll turn here pretty quick, and for you guys it'll be just a couple of seconds and they'll be all done. So as you can see, I got the other two handles turned, and you can also see the dramatic difference in the color now. The top two definitely look like Jatoba, and the bottom one does not. But anyway, they all turned out really nice. I'm really happy with it. And now it's just time to put them together. I already got the two bigger scrapers, but the smaller box scraper, I forgot, has a 1/2 inch shank, and when you buy that tool, it comes with the adapter, which I show here, and a set of set screws, because since the tool diameter, the shaft is smaller, you need longer set screws to reach down there and press on it and hold it in place. So normally the handle kit comes with set screws for 3/4 inch tools, and if you need the smaller ones, they'll come with the adapter. And you can see there's a long one and a short one for the thick part and the thin part of the handle. And once you get them in there, they're all ready to go. So a while back, another YouTuber, Tony Turns Wood, his channel, posted on his community page, hey, how do you organize your tools? And I didn't really respond at the time because I was like, I don't know. Seems like a lot of work to explain it. So here it is. So when I only had a few tools, I had this drawer system that I built to hold all my chucks and tools and miscellaneous stuff. And I got fancy and made some cutouts for my carbide and my two Carter & Son tools. And then I got more tools and I need more space, so I made this wall unit, and that's where these new ones are going to live.